This lesson is going to be starting the similarity unit. Before we get into similarity though, it's really good to actually review solving proportions. Some of them can get kind of strange and awkward, and also dealing with fractions using your TI-84 calculator. So if you don't have one of those yet, you might want to go get one. Again, those are the yellow TI-84 calculators in my room. Now I'm going to prefer those calculators over the Desmos, because the Desmos calculator that y'all get to use on the NC final exam really doesn't do fractions too well. It's better for graphs, but the TI-84 is going to work better for the fractions, so that's what I'll be using on this video. So on the first problem there, what you're going to have to do is solve for n. Now the easy thing that most of y'all probably would think of doing is cross multiplying when you've got proportion. A proportion is when two ratios are equal, as these are. So n over 8 is the same as 12 over 16. So I will cross multiply. That means the n gets multiplied by 16. 16n is what that would be. The 8 multiplies the 12. So then I would have 16n is equal to 8 times 12 is 96. Next step would be to divide by the 16 on both sides. So we are going to end up with a nice answer here. The 16s will cancel there, so we have n on the left side equals 96 divided by 16 ends up being 6. So this one's actually very straightforward. I did forget to mention that this was on page 1 of the worksheet that I'm giving you. You're going to be completing all of those, so I've just done one for you. I'm going to do another 3 problems off of this side of the worksheet. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and move forward to number 9. I'm going to multiply the a with 3, so I'm going to get 3a there. And I'm going to multiply the 2.24 with the 9.6, so it's going to equal 0.24 times 9.6. Now I'm going to simplify that right hand side, so 3a will equal 2.304. And that's actually just using my calculator there. And the last step is to divide by 3. Now I'm going to end up with a decimal answer here, but that's really no big deal. A is going to equal 0.768. Now that's actually a good answer, but on some of my answers I'm going to present it as a fraction, which is really more typical. So I'm going to show you how to get a fraction out of this answer. So now you can actually see that first calculation that I had done, 0.24 times 9.6 to get the 2.304. Then I will divide by 3 as I had done on number 9 to get my final answer. Now if you're wanting your answer to be a fraction instead, what you'll need to do is hit the math key right here under alpha. When I click on that, your first option will be to convert the answer to a fraction. If ever you want to convert it back to a decimal, you may use the second option there, but I'll use this first option to convert it to a fraction and hit enter again. So 96 over 125. Now I'm going to go back to where my work was and answer with that. A equals 96 over 125 is my final answer. You really just have to be able to recognize both answers, because sometimes it will be a fraction, sometimes it will be a decimal. Alright, on problem number 11, I'm going to again cross multiply. So the x plus 3 is going to be multiplied by 8. Now that's a little tricky how you should write that. You should write that as 8 parentheses x plus 3, because the 8 is going to multiply both the x and the 3. Equals the 7 will get multiplied by 4. Doesn't matter what order you write that. If you write 4 times 7, it's still the same thing. So now on the left side, I do have to use distributive property to finish that one up. So that's going to be 8x plus 24. 8 times x, and then 8 times 3 got me the 24. 7 times 4 is 28. Now I will subtract 24 from both sides to solve for x. So that's going to be 8x is left on the left is equal to 4. Then I'll divide by 8 on both sides. 4 divided by 8, you could use your calculator, but I know that 4 is 1/2 of 8. So 1/2 is my answer. Alright, this is the last problem that I'm actually going to go over in this video, and I'm going to leave the rest of the work to you, which really should not take too long, but getting to the word problems, which is really where things get important. Zach can read 7 pages of a book in 5 minutes. That actually already gives you one of your ratios, that you have 7 pages every 5 minutes. Now, if you would even like to make a little note here that this was pages and this was minutes, that's completely fine. But you do not have to. That's just something I do to remind myself what went on top. So now, at this rate, how long will it take him to read the entire 175-page book if he follows at the same rate? Now, what's going to happen is I just have to recognize where to put 175. Since that was 175 pages, that belongs on the top. And X minutes is on the bottom. Now, this is my X is really not going to be my final answer, because they do make the note that they're wanting us to convert the final answer to hours and minutes. So X will just be how many minutes long it takes. So now we're going to continue with the same method that we were using earlier. I don't have to continue writing pages and minutes. That was just to help me set it up at the beginning. So 7 will multiply the X. So I'm going to have 7X equal to, and the 5 is going to multiply the 175. And then 5 times 175 is 875. So 7x equals 875. Now what I need to do is divide by the 7 to solve for x. So x is equal to 875 divided by 7, which ends up being 125. Now this is in minutes, so this is not my final answer due to how they wanted me to answer the problem. They didn't want to know how many minutes, they wanted to know how many hours and minutes it would take. So I'm going to show you how to do that now using your calculator. So the answer that I got was 125 minutes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide that minutes by 60 minutes each hour to know how many hours it took. So it took 2.083 hours. Now that might seem like an awkward way to say it. In fact, it would be. You wouldn't tell somebody that took 2.083 hours. So we still have to work a little bit with this. So what I'm going to do is first get that into a fraction. Again, to convert into a fraction, I'm going to hit Math key and hit Enter on Convert to Fraction. Now, 25/12 hours. That still sounds awkward because usually with hours you operate with mixed numbers. So here's a new thing. You might not have realized this was there, but if you hit the alpha key, which is green on my calculator, and then hit F1, which is the y equals, alpha F1, it'll bring up this lovely menu. Again, to get that, alpha F1, which is y equals. You can actually go to the third option down. What the third option will do is convert back and forth from improper fractions and mixed numbers. So when I hit enter on that and enter again, 2 1/12 of an hour. Alright, this is actually a pretty good answer that I'm going to be using here. The last thing is I'd consider how many minutes is 1/12 of an hour. So to do that, I would take the 1/12 of an hour and multiply it by 60 minutes in an hour. So that would be 5 minutes. So if I lost you along all that, I'm sorry. This is the only one where you have to do this conversion. So we'll talk about it more in the future. But where I had an answer of 125 minutes, I'm now instead going to write out beside that how they wanted the answer to be presented. That 125 minutes is 2 hours and 5 minutes, because 5 minutes represents 1/12 of an hour. Now, if that process that I just went through seems a little complicated to you and you're like, I could have known that without doing everything you just did on the calculator, great. I'm with you. But some people are going to struggle with that, and that's actually the process that you should be going through, even if you're doing it in your head. Alright, I'm going to leave the rest of the work for y'all. You can check your answers as you go, and you must turn in your work before you leave class today. Alright, thank you very much.